I still can't get used to that. It never used to say recording in progress, but now it does. And I'm like, yeah. And touch wood already, no technical difficulties, which is a good thing.
Good so far.
We tend to always have some sort of problem, which is annoying. But anyway, that's what happens when you record in a shed.
There we go.
Georgie, welcome to the Ground Zero podcast. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
No, that's no problem. I first that almost sounded wrong in itself. I first came across your profile on that because you did quite a bit of stuff with James Elliott, haven't you? I think he shared some bits and bobs about you, and he's been a previous guest on the show. And I was like, who's this then? And I had a little click, and I was like, hang on, Miss Essex, serving soldier. I was like, that's got to be a story in itself. But I'm going to start you off. I like to have the podcast, so it's like we're in a pub, basically.
Cool.
Got me whiskey. What made you want to join the military?
So I was a troublemaker when I was younger, as are lots of bored teenage Essex girls. I found myself in trouble with the police. And I was introduced to a man called Henry, who had done 26 years in the Royal Anglian by my father. And he had travelled the world, and he had, a chest full of medals and all of these stories and all of this cool stuff. And I thought, you know what? I think I kind of want to do that. So at the time I applied for what was Welbeck, the Defence Boarding School, when I was maybe 15 years old. And because I knew I had to get really good grades if I wanted to go, that was it. I was back to school, studying hard. The plan had always been to go in, officer entry, go through a technical trade, and just really sort of fell in love with the idea of doing something really different and seeing the world. Unfortunately, nothing goes to plan, right? So that didn't work out. I failed my medical every 5 years. I didn't end up joining as an officer, which is probably for the best, because now that I'm in, I realised that it wouldn't have suited me at all. But yeah, I pretty much owe everything to Henry. And had it not have been for meeting him and deciding that I wanted to join the army, I wasn't hanging around with some of the best people. I probably would have got into drugs. I probably would have continued doing stupid things like shoplifting and bunking off school. And it gave me something to aim for, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's a different sort of look on Essex, as it were. Like, because obviously quite a lot of people go, well, Essex is Towie, isn't it? They're all like that. It's like, well, because I always say it to the missus. She's like, yes, I'm a fan for some reason. I quite like it, but I like things that annoy me. So I'll watch something because it annoys me, and I'm like, oh, it fucking annoys me, but I want to watch it. and the stupid little dramas and things. But anyway, the one thing that always like really gets on my fucking nerves is when they say, oh, you're like the talk of Essex. It's like, you're making out like Essex is a small place. It's quite a big county.
It is, yeah.
It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. But it's mad though, isn't it? How just whether it's talking to the man Henry or it could be anything that just suddenly changes your perception and your like career path, as it were. I'm sure growing up you never thought, tell you what, I'm going to be in the army.
No way, no. My whole family are in property, and I thought I was going to be an architect or some kind of property lawyer or something to do with developing property. And, so I'm from Billericay in Essex, which is a very stereotypical Essex type town. And what you're imagining when you're watching Towie a lot of the time, it's very white, middle class. Everyone in the town pretty much commutes. They grow up in Billericay, they die in Billericay. And it's quite unusual, really, for people to leave or do something different.
I get that.
Yeah, so I didn't know.
Yeah, so they either stay in Billericay or they marry someone from Barry Island.
Yeah, well, that goes on the Gavin and Stacey route.
Yeah, but I know exactly where you're coming from with that, because I come from a small city. It is a city in Hereford. You probably know Hereford. So So I grew up there. Like my old man was based at the camp, and pretty much, unless you join the military and leave, like 9 times out of 10, people just don't leave Hereford. They live in Hereford, and Hereford is everything, which is mad because it's only just now started to catch up with time. It sounds stupid. Like I was saying to me, Mrs. like even wait, like just styles and fashions. Like I'm sure only just now they're starting to get like skinny jeans. I swear, but not that I could wear them anyway because super thick legs. But yeah, it's such a backwards place. Like Hereford, it's weird. It is a weird place, but I love it. To me, still, it's still home. Like I live in Kent now. Mrs. is a southern girl, so we moved here. Like so, it's strange. Like I get the piss taken out of me by a few of my mates. They're like, "Oh, you're starting to get a southern twang." It's like definitely not. I like walk around here and they're like, "Where are you from? Are you from Bristol?" I'm like, "No." And then it's one thing or the other. It's either Bristol or Wales. I'm like, I'm definitely not Welsh. My mum's Welsh, but I'm not Welsh. But yeah,
well, I'm good, so
yeah. So you managed to get out then, out of Billericay.
Yeah, well, having said that, my first posting was Colchester.
Of course it is.
I bought Colchester, so you know, I didn't leave that far. I mean, where I'm based now is also only around 70 to 80 miles away, so you know, very, very commutable to home. Kind of feel like I've had the best of both though, because I've had amazing opportunities to travel for work and also, you know, your sport and AT and stuff like that. But yeah, when I'm home, I've been home, which is really nice.
That's good. And yeah, you didn't even get to leave the county, which is a shame. But yeah, because I remember when I joined up, and I went obviously from Hereford, and my home base was Bury St Edmunds. So RAF Honington was where I was based. And the first month that I was on basic training, I hated it. I was shit. Well, I was shit. I was shit in the block. Couldn't iron. Couldn't fucking do anything like that. And it wasn't until we went out and started doing the proper infantry stuff that we were supposed to do that I actually got what I was meant to do. If that makes sense. It's like, oh, right. I was made to do this job, not iron kit, which worked for me. What? So you probably didn't really get that homesick sort of feeling.
No, I mean, so I moved out when I was sort of 16 anyway. When I was sort of 17, 18, I had my first job in London. So I was renting a room at the time. And so I didn't join in the end until I had my 21st birthday in basic training. So by that point, in a way, I know, and I was trying to keep it quiet, you know, like you do, because you know you're going to get something awful. But it got discovered. So obviously I had 21 press ups from every member of DS that caught me every single time. And I thought, oh, what cracking birthday. Definitely different to how I imagine spending my 21st.
My 21st, we were actually on what we called Fieldcraft 1. So we're actually out in the field. And we would just finish doing a simulation of a like a sniper stalk where we had to try and get as close as we could to the enemy without getting caught. And that was good. But the annoying thing was when we got back from exercise, we then had to obviously de-kit and all that. And they were like, "Well, you're confined to camp now because you've been out playing soldiers and killing people. You're now at an aggressive state. You can't go out." I was like, "It's my fucking 21st birthday." One of the lads managed to get me a cherry bakewell, but you know, every cloud.
You know what it's like though? Like you have a number of birthdays in the military, and actually some of them have been my best. I had one on deployment, and like we're sort of in the middle of nowhere, you know, we haven't got access to stuff, and the guys managed to get hold of a cake and they bring it in and they dress my office chair up with balloons and, you know, everything. And I remember all week I've been going, "Oh, it's my birthday this week, it's my birthday." And in the morning and the day before, no one had said anything, and I thought, they've bloody forgotten, and I've been going on about it.
How fucking dare you?
Don't you know who I am. But then they surprise you, and it's nice. I've had birthdays on the ranges, and I remember being in a training area, which, as you know, is dying, has its own ecosystem, and the guys getting me putting candles on it, which obviously didn't survive. But it's just that it's the nice things like that you think, it makes it.
That's the main thing, really, that sort of put me through my decline through my mental health when I left, was the fact that I didn't have that camaraderie anymore. I didn't have that. It was basically the old saying, the sense of belonging and all that. And the main one was the lads. And unfortunately for me, which we'll probably get to a little bit later on, because obviously you've gone through your own version of trolls and things like that. Since starting the podcast, I had loads.
Really?
And a lot of them were, inverted commas, friends and comrades that I had actually served on the same squadron with, out on deployment and things like that. And it was just heartbreaking, really. But I digress. What I really want to bring up, what got you into powerlifting?
So I actually ended up with a number of stress fractures in my pelvis at the end of training, as lots of females in the military do. Obviously they've changed a lot of the way that
that's a strange one, you know. Now I've said it before. I've had a couple of American serving females, and they've said the same. Like, if you can handle the same weight and things like that, then of course have women in frontline roles, etc. But you are designed differently to men in terms of 100%. Carrying weight and things like that. Like, I was a bit of a pack horse when I was in. You could literally load me up and I would just carry on walking with it. But looking at some of the females, unless they're like some sort of super CrossFit athlete or a humongous, not saying that you're humongous powerlifter or something like that, you're not going to be able to carry the same weight as me, who's, well, I can't even remember what I weighed then. I weigh a lot more than I did then. But but yeah, so you fractured your pelvis, you say?
Yeah, so I'm also 5'3" as well. So I'm actually, some newspaper described me as pint size, but I am very little. So in basic training, it was just sort of, a repetitive sort of injury. And then because of the job that I do, I couldn't leave training until going on to sort of promotion courses and stuff like that. So I'd finished all of my sort of trade training, if you like, but I was stuck. And I had a sergeant major at the time who was a chairman of powerlifting. He was an infantier. He had world records in kind of strongman competitions. He ran a ladies' day competition. I said, George, why don't you just come along and just see if you like it? And I remember rocking up to my first competition and just benching the bar, and the girls were amazing. They were so supportive and they were so strong. And I just remember looking at them and thinking, wow, like I want to be like them. They're so cool.
I get that.
Yeah, so sort of 6 years of training, and then I had nationals. My first nationals in 2019. I had 2 national competitions in 2019 actually, and then I won Eastern Counties in 2020, and then kind of since that, partly because of COVID, partly because of work, I've not competed much, but I just love it.
It's a strange sort of industry, the fitness. Before I joined up, I was a personal trainer in Hereford for a bit in my dad's gym. So it's amazing how positive it is, but also how negative it can be depending on what gym environment you're in. Like, I found myself getting stuck on Instagram, funnily enough. That's what I seem to do all day if I'm not working. I'm scrolling, and I was on Reels, and I found this bloke, is it Joe Swole, I think his name is, his handle is.
Okay.
And he basically targets people that are targeting other people. So there'll be like a fitness influencer, which I hate that. taking a video of, say, a man in a vest that's doing a workout, but he's making a bit more noise, or you could say like quite an attractive lady working out, and the bloke, she's right next to him, and he's sort of taking a glance, but she's recording him taking a glance and then tried to say that he's perving on her, etc., etc. And he's then calling them out for saying, look, he's just minding his business in the gym. You've made a bit of noise. He's turned his head, and now you're calling him out. This guy could be married. He could have kids, and you're now putting him on the internet, making him out like he's some sort of super pervert. It's like, I was watching that. I was like, yeah, it's right. Because in some aspects, the gym life is awesome. And then in other aspects, you've got a very toxic sort of environment as well. And it's mad sort of loop that you can get yourself in. Yeah. And not to mention little things as well. Sorry, butting in. I've had a whiskey now. That's what's happened. I'm starting to talk. I told you it would loosen me up, didn't I? But it's also like silly things like body dysmorphia and things like I say silly things because that is a genuine problem with especially bodybuilders and things like that. That on one hand, it's making you more confident, more positive. It is. I don't like to say it's a form of therapy, but physically it can be. You can take your anger out on a punch bag. You can lift heavy weights. Yeah. But then you start to see a difference. You're like, oh, I'm starting to look good. But then the next breath, you're looking at yourself in the mirror going, oh, I'm still a fat cunt. Jesus. And then you're like putting yourself down again. Did you ever find that when you're going through like the powerlifting stage? Because obviously that's sort of a stigma behind it, isn't it? With women powerlifters, they're like, well, you're going to be massive.
Yeah, it's hard. And I think as well, it goes both ways. It's like, where do you draw the line? You start to see progress and that becomes addictive, right? And then you're always chasing more progress and then you actually forget how far you've come. And you know, in the first lockdown, I was probably the fittest I've ever been. And I had a coach, and at the time I was dropping a lot of weight. So I was nearly 15 kilos lighter than I am now, which at my height is quite a lot. And I was looking and I was going, I'm not losing enough. I'm not lean enough. Not growing muscles in the right places. And I was working so hard until my friends sort of staged a bit of an intervention. They were like, George, like all you do is train and weigh your food. Like your life is gone. There is no in between. And I look back at photos and I think, oh my goodness, how could I not see how well I was doing? You know, I'm very fortunate now that I have a very good coach who has put me on a very good prep, but she's also like, you have a life. You know, I've got a hen do this weekend, and she's like, don't track anything. Yeah. Like, enjoy yourself, and then we'll just pick it up again the next day. Whereas there was a point in time where I felt like I couldn't do that because I was cheating on myself and I'd ruined progress I made. And you know, it does become addictive chasing gains, doesn't it? And the same with numbers in powerlifting. You know, you add a bit of weight to your bench, and then before you know it, well, I've only progressed by 5 kilos, but that could have been 10% of what you were benching.
Yeah, exactly. It's madness. It genuinely is. It is
exactly.
Crazy.
And then you don't see the progress, and you get hard on yourself, and it's tough.
Because I had it when I was, so I used to box for the Air Force, and
cool.
And then when I left, I started doing a bit more, and I ended up doing one of those white collar events. I basically had 8 weeks to train, and I put myself into a fight camp. So I literally was like, right, I know what to do. I know how to lose weight. I used to be a nutritionist. I know what to do. Even now, I know what to do. I'm not going to lie to you, George. I'm so lazy. Like, I know exactly what to do. I know exactly what to eat. I know exactly that it's calories in versus calories out. But I'm like, I'm 35. I can't be bothered anymore. I'm at that stage. But I'm sure I'll change at some point. I'll see myself in the mirror and go, you silly fat bastard. Come on, sort yourself out. But anyway, I digress. I remember going into this like sort of fight camp, but I was obviously still working at the same time. So I'm not like in a proper fight camp, like an actual fighter. But in my head I was. And I was like, and I remember being out on a job. I did I used to do surveillance to try and catch benefit cheats for a little bit. I remember being out in the van and I was like, oh, I'm fucking hungry and I've got no food. And I was like, well, we're going in, we're following the subject into a McDonald's or something like that. And I was like, well, I can't have one of those. So I'm in fight camp. And I was like, but I need one. It's like, oh, just get it. You're not. And then I'll be like looking at my weight and going, right, I need to get my weight down. If I get my weight down, I'll be at peak. And then I ended up, the person that I was fighting was a good. Well, I'm only 5'6", as I said, so I'm quite a short bloke. The bloke I was fighting was at least 6'2", and he had at least 20 kilos on me, at least. So I was like, well, I've dieted myself down, and now I've got to fight this absolute heffalump. It's not fair, but still beat him. So win-win. Do you know what I said? I said we weren't going to have technical difficulties, and we just did, didn't we?
We did. Yeah, I know. I got to the point where you said he was 6'2", and I bet you wish you were having them McDonald's then.
Yeah, well, he was 6'2" and about 20 kilos heavier than me, at least.
Yeah.
But I still knocked him out in the second round. So,
well, there we go.
Win-win. But so you're still getting in on the powerlifting and whatnot. So that's got to be, that's awesome. I'm just gonna say that's awesome. Like, because obviously you get your tracksuit soldiers, but nobody actually thinks, right, let's do some powerlifting. That's awesome. I like lifting heavy shit, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I do. It makes you good. It makes you feel like you can do anything. And what I like about it as well is, unlike some of the sort of tracksuit soldier type roles, is that because it's not a team sport, so you don't have to commit the same sort of time and resources and, you know, training camps and stuff to it. You can train independently. It doesn't matter where you're based or what your schedule's like. You can work it around. And most civilians on a weekend, and you know, it's amazing how many women do it, and I had no idea. And being in the army, like, it is very male dominated, and I find it's so weird that the community through pageantry and also powerlifting is so similar in both types of competition, if you like. The girls are really supportive, and I just think that's really cool.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that. I had a former US Marine female on the show. She was I believe some sort of helicopter technician. I may have just got that completely wrong, but she was saying how difficult it was while she was going through training and then onto unit, because like you said, because it's so male dominated. Like, she had like the nickname tits and things like that, and she was like, well, I don't appreciate that. I'm doing the same job as you. Can you not treat me the same? Have you ever had any sort of experience like that?
Oh, honestly, like, so many that I probably couldn't count them. I've been told, mainly by other females, funny enough, that no one would take me seriously because I come across like a blonde bimbo. I've had that I wear too much makeup, so again, no one would take me seriously. So I'm exceptionally competent at my job, and I'm very comfortable saying that. Like, I'm very good at my job, and I have basically had a warrant officer tell me that they would rather have one of the people who was on my team who was very incompetent at their job because they look more like a soldier, and that people would listen to her because she acts the part and she speaks the part and she doesn't have a thick Essex accent and all the rest of it. And I was like, but as soon as I actually open my mouth and they hear what I've got to say, they'll realise that I know what I'm talking about. And a lot of the time, you know, I face it. I meet people for the first time, and they have a perception of what I'll be like, especially people that I've not worked with before, that have read stuff in the papers about me, that have heard, oh, that's that soldier that does beauty pageants or whatever. And then within an hour, 2 hours of meeting me, they're like, oh, you are nothing like we expected. You can actually do the job. And I'm like, yeah, I can. And, you know, I am fit and I do train and I do care about being good at my job. I just also happen to do all this other stuff in my spare time. So, yeah.
But at the end, it's that one, isn't it? It's your spare time. Do as you wish in your spare time. You know, as long as you're getting the job done and you're doing it to the best of your ability and you're actually proving that you're good, then like we said earlier, it's like, if you're good at it, you know, it shouldn't matter what you look like. That pisses me off, the whole looks and all the stigma behind it. Like, they could look at you and say, oh, as a beautiful woman, oh, she's got to be up her own ass. It's like, why is she?
Yeah. I've had it dating as well. I've met people and they messaged me up like, you are not what I expected. I thought you'd be really stuck up from your Instagram. And I'm like, why did you think I'd be stuck up? I think I'm really chill.
Yeah.
But apparently, because I'm blonde and I do pageants, it means I'll be stuck up. But, like, there is a perception, especially, being a Southern girl, being a beauty queen, speaking the way that I speak, all of those things go in together. And people think that I'm going to either be a bimbo or a stuck up bimbo or, all of those things. And
yeah,
that's not the case. So I'm just lucky that, when people do get to know me, they realise that.
Yeah, I just really fucking gets me down is that the stigma behind so many different things. Like, obviously, good looking lady, she's gonna be up her own ass, into her own looks, everything has to be perfect, blah 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 blah. And then she's a powerlifter, all right, so she's gonna be obsessed with the gym, she's gonna be massive, she's gonna be lifting heavy weights all the time. It's like, okay, cool. She does pageantry stuff. Definitely up her own ass then. She's also a soldier. Oh, right. So she's going to be thick as shit as well because she's a soldier. So, fuck off.
I know, right?
Because I get it now in terms of it's stupid little stigmas for me. Because obviously I served in the RAF regiment. So the most hated regiment in the whole world, I think. Because of a couple of stupid little things that have come out on the internet, like the 5 mile of death. Apparently, people shooting their own body armor, which didn't happen, by the way, etc., etc. And it's like, well, so you're rough reg, so you're like them lot. You stuck behind the wire, you guard the naffy. It's like, I don't think I've ever guarded a naffy in my life. I spent most of my time in my first 2 tours outside the wire. But it's like, whatever. For a long time, I was fighting that, like constantly, like getting the ass about it, like having arguments with people over it, like stupid things like on Fill Your Boots. You'd see a comment about the RAF regiment, you're like, right, I've got to type on that. We don't do that. And now I'm just like, yeah, cool, 5 mile of death. Like, I do it now, like Tales from the Sandpit or something. We'll put something up on about the RAF regiment or Fill Your Boots or whoever, or the Veteran State of Mind podcast will put something up, and I'll just put, yeah, cool. I remember that when I got stuck on the 5 mile of death. I'll play the banter game now because I'm like, I'm over that shit. It's the same with in terms of the mental health sort of stuff as well. It's like the amount of people that didn't want to talk to me because I had depression and PTSD and things like that. They were like, well, is he a ticking time bomb? It's like, no, I'm all right. It's just I occasionally will have some down days where I probably will need to have a chat and a beer. But it is what it is. Got to break these stigmas. That's what we got to do.
It's one of them, like, and so my sister, she has had some mental health struggles recently, and she had a day off work, which her company are amazing. They do these mental health days where you can just take a day off, no questions asked, the same as if you were physically sick. And then she was awarded in her team, basically person of the month. And she was like, I don't deserve it because I had that day off. And I was like, if you'd broken your leg or been in a car accident or, or you'd fainted because of a physical, illness, do you think that means you don't deserve it? Well, no. So it just shows that there's still a stigma there, because if you feel had a day off because of your mental health, but you wouldn't feel embarrassed having a day off because of your physical health, there is still something wrong there. And although I think it's become almost, I don't want to use the word popular because that belittles everything.
I know exactly what you're saying.
To have a mental health problem, and everyone's got anxiety and everyone's got depression and all of these things, but it almost takes away from the fact that we're trying to have real conversations about the fact that people real stuff, and life is hard and people don't always cope all of the time, and that's fine, but we need to change the narrative and say we need to support these people rather than just going, yeah, me too, I didn't want to get out of bed yesterday, so I now have depression too.
Everybody's, I find that a lot of people try and one up. It's like the old, I've been to Tenerife while I've been to 11 Tenerife sort of thing. Yeah. It's like, well, cool, but I'm struggling today and I might need that day where, I totally understand where your sister's coming from, because I've been there before in terms of like being embarrassed because I had a shit day. Like I've mentioned it a couple of times on the podcast and in my book and on a little mini doc that I did for myself. I had a few days where I'd be, because I used to work on my own on the security side where I drive around. The amount of times that I would like just pull over and just fucking burst into tears for like no reason. But then I was like, well, I can't tell anyone that. People are going to think I'm a right pussy and shit like that. And that's the type of stuff that goes through your head. So it's hard. But nobody says it's going to be easy. But I also get the whole it seems to be popular and cool to have some sort of mental health issue, whether it's anxiety, depression, or whatever. And I think I said it when I had the conversation with James, because he is pretty good at what he does with the mental resilience stuff and things like that. And we shouldn't be in the mental health sort of thing now. It should be more of a mental health awareness. That's what I was talking about. It's because everybody's aware now. It's now what we're going to do about it, and shouldn't be now into little things. Like it should be now mental fitness and how we're going to fix and train our brains to deal with it, because it's a long journey
even
it might not even end.
Like, no, of course. And even like right from school, like as young as sort of 7, 8 years old, when people are having their first exams and they're going through stressful times, and they might have parents that divorce, and
you are
all of those
on again. You're spot on.
People understand that it's okay to feel stressed and it's okay for things to not be perfect all the time, and develop coping mechanisms really, really young and wait to move forward, then by the time they get to adulthood, when things go wrong for the first time, potentially, they don't go, God, I don't know how to deal with this and I don't know who to speak to, because we've been speaking about it our whole lives, rather than going, well, they're just kids, so let's shelter them from it and let's just pretend none of this is happening and we'll protect them and bubble wrap them. Let's
100%.
talk about the fact that everything isn't sunshine and rainbows all the time, and that's okay, but we have to work out ways to make things better again. And the younger we do that, the easier that gets, surely.
Oh, you're spot on. You literally just hit the nail on the head, especially in terms of my own house. I've got 2 daughters. I've got a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old. And my 10-year-old is about to go through her SATs exams. So she's got her mocks coming up. And I literally spent about half an hour with her last night. Trying to calm her down, because her anxiety went through the roof. Just making sure my internet connection hasn't fizzled out. Am I still with you?
Yeah, it's a little bit crackly.
It went a bit crackly. It did my end. It came up with your internet's unstable. It's because I'm in the shed a million miles away from my house. But yeah, I was literally with her for about half an hour, calming her down, talking to her about how you can't. Well, I annoyed myself a little bit, because I was like, stop worrying about it. And I was like, that's like telling water not to be wet. She clearly has anxiety about it. She's going to worry about it. Excuse me. But I did a bit of coaching with her. I'm trained in a technique. Inorama is what it's called, or what it was called. Unfortunately, hasn't come to any fruition, but I'll talk about that another day. Anyway, it's a different technique to help with anxiety and depression, things like that. You basically go through your perfect day. So you'd go through, what time would you wake up? And she went, I don't know, 8 o'clock. I've got to get ready for school. And I was like, whoa, it's your perfect day. What time are you getting up? You can have a lie in if you want. She went, oh, okay, 9 o'clock. I was like, cool. What are you having for breakfast? And then she was like, pancakes. I was like, cool. What are you having with pancakes? And it goes on like that. And the funny bit was, she went, I'm going to have Nutella with it. I went, you're going to have maple syrup or anything like that? She went, can't have maple syrup. Mum said, I can't. It's bad for me. And I was like,
perfect.
Oh, it's your perfect day. And she was like, oh yeah. Then, anyway, but I managed to calm her down. And but yeah, she was really worrying about it. And I was talking her through it, calming her down. I was like, this is only going to get worse, because these are just her mocks. I was trying to tell her that the mocks don't count. the practice. She
The
was like,
freebie.
oh, okay, cool. Then I managed to calm her down. And what I did today was I went out and got her just a little notebook.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave it to her. She likes writing anyway. And I said, this isn't for you to just write crap about Stranger Things in. I want this to be your journal on your thoughts and feelings. Write it down and it will help you out. And you can look back on it and see how you're feeling. She was like, oh, thanks, Dad. I got her a nice pen as well. And I was like, oh, that's nice. I did something good today. I felt good. Like, because as a parent, you can't help but think it's your fault that they've got certain issues. Like my wife suffers quite badly with anxiety. I have anxiety, but not to that extent. But it's like, oh, that's my fault that she's got that. And then I think, well, it's not my fault. She could have developed that without me anyway.
Yeah. And it would be a combination of things like the environment she's in, the stress of SATs, actual chemical processes in the brain that are...
Oh, don't get me started on that. I'm not ready.
It's not awful. So yeah.
No, we did we have so the wife's been out and got her special stuff ready. Special stuff. I'm such a bloke, aren't I? She's got a special bag ready for when that stuff happens. But the whole puberty thing is hitting hard at the minute. Like her hormones are up and down, like I don't know what. Like the other day she just started crying for no reason. I was like, what are you crying? She was like, I don't know, Dad. I was like, oh God, I
still do it all the time now. I definitely am not, like, I have no kind of depression. I'm quite an anxious person, but I don't have anxiety. I'm just an overthinker and an over worrier.
Yeah, I get that.
And I was speaking to my mum the other day and I just burst into tears and she went, what's the matter? And I went, I just had a thought. And she went, right. I went, I'm going to outlive Max. Max is my dog. And she went, well, yeah, obviously he's a dog. And I went, that day can't ever come. Now he's only 5 years old, so I've probably got a very long time.
Yeah, you got a bit of time. It is sad though. It is sad. You definitely get attached to animals. Our family dog passed away a couple of months back now, Jerry. And I remember my brother phoning me up, right, and he told me, and he started crying on the phone. I was like, okay, cheers. I phoned up the wife and I literally went, my actual words were, but he's such a good boy. And then I literally just burst into tears. And I was like, I never thought I'd cry over a dog. But I was like, he was brilliant. Jerry was brilliant.
Yeah.
He was such an idiot, but he was brilliant.
Yeah, and I think, through lockdown, so my mum's got a terminal illness, so it wasn't safe for me to ever go home because I was working in the week around so many other people. So I was going back to my own property in Colchester, but not seeing anyone really. And I was working a week on, week off. So I was never clear from people long enough to go home. But it meant that weeks off, it was just me and the dog. And I think, if I didn't have him, I'm quite a chatty person. I would have felt so lonely. And he's moved me loads of times. He's been through breakups with me. He's been through deaths in the family with me. He's been through lockdown with me. And I do without him.
It's amazing how much they pick up as well, especially dogs. Yeah, I've got a cat because I'm outnumbered. Okay. I'm outnumbered by even the cat's a girl, so it's four against one. But it's amazing how even they pick up, even cats. Like if the wife goes off to see her mates for an evening because a couple of her friends have moved away. Some are up in London, some are a bit further East Sussex sort of way. So she might have to stay over that night. It's like the cat knows that I don't like being in bed on my own, if that makes sense. She'll come and lie next to me on my side. I'm like, no, she does love me. Like most people get this perception about cats, like they're trying to kill you in your sleep and things. But she's brilliant. Like she's been quite loving lately, and I think it's because there's a new cat moved in a couple of doors down, and they don't get on. But yeah, she keeps coming over to me. I'm like, yeah, she knows who the alpha is in the house.
There we go.
I don't think it's me though. That's why she comes and sits with me. But yeah, we're almost at the stage where we're going to get a dog. So
okay,
I'm sort of wearing them down.
What would you get?
I like spaniels. I like Springer spaniels. The two dogs that we've had growing up was Springer collie crosses, which they are awesome, but also full of energy, and you have to find new ways of wearing them out, because obviously both working dogs, breed them together, madness.
Yeah.
But my favorite dog, my missus' cousin, who literally lives 3 doors down from me, he's got a beagle, and they're my favorite.
Hard
Bruno
to
is a
train
pain in the ass. He's a pain in the ass because I'm going to say it because I know he listens to the podcast. You didn't train him when he was a pup. So he's a pain in the ass in the league. He really is. He pulls. Every 4 steps he's taking a piss to mark his territory and stuff like that. But he is lovely.
Yeah,
he's a gorgeous. What dog have you got? I've seen it, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, so I did the sensible thing, and I've got one that's a breed that's like half crazy and super fit, but then half really crazy and a lap dog. So he's the perfect combo. So he's half Spanish. His mum was a Cocker Cross Cavalier, and the dad was shit. So he's like a lap dog, but if I want to take him up Snowdon or I want to take him on a massive hike, he's capable.
Yeah,
he's also at my lap. He's under my desk at the moment, just having a snooze.
He's just chilling out. He's chilling out. I have played in the past onto the mental health card. I'm like, but dogs really help with mental health. They're amazing. And she's like, we're not here enough. And I went, he can come with me to work. She's like,
yeah,
he can. I went, yes, he can.
Can he?
Well, yes, because I'm the boss, and I said he can. But basically, I'm the site security manager, so technically, I am the boss of security. But I have spoken to the client of the whole site, and I've said, if I get a dog, he can come. And she's like, yeah, definitely. I love dogs. And I was like, brilliant. So I'm doing it. I might just turn up with one. But we did that when we got Jerry from my dad. So my mum constantly said, no, we're not having a dog. And me and my brother went, we're getting a dog. And I say back then, it would have only been 2007. It only cost us 50 quid.
Yeah.
From a farm. I think they were trying to give them away, basically. But I remember we called my old man out of the pub. We were like, Dad, we got your present. It's an early birthday present. It's like, my birthday's not until September, it's May. He comes out. It's like, happy birthday. And he's like, what's that? What we tried to do was get him a dog so he wouldn't spend as much time in the pub.
Right. But he took the dog to the pub with him.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. Occasionally he would walk to the pub with the dog.
Yeah, good.
They are good though. I do love dogs, and they understand if you're sad. They understand if you're happy. They know if you need a hug, they'll come and head on you or whatever. Yeah. They're just brilliant.
Yeah, I agree.
Like you said, going through lockdown, that must have been difficult, and having your boy there, your fur baby.
Yeah. Well, I think it's routine, isn't it? Sometimes when you're going through hard times, for me especially, I find that if I just make myself a list of things that I'm going to do in the day and tick them off, and sometimes I'll put things on the list that I know I'm going to do just for the satisfaction of ticking it off, because it feels like an achievement, even if it's like eat breakfast, walk dog, go to the gym. It's stuff that I know I'm going to do, but then when I tick it off, I feel like I've achieved something. So when I was on my own with him for a week, the weeks that I was, not working, I'd be like, right, I'm going to make sure I do, 10 kilometers with the dog, and I'm going to train at this time. And it made me have a routine, even when everything else was chaotic and I couldn't control anything else. And I could just tick those things off and go, do you know what? I've achieved something today, and I've not been on my own, and I'm a good dog mum. And day by day, just counting it down, ticking my lists off every day. And then before you know it, the first lockdown was over. And I think I go through times, you know what it's like in the military, a lot of the time you don't have control over things. Sometimes when you go away, you don't have control over what you're eating, when you're sleeping, when you're working, when you're training. And so it's really hard to feel like you've got any kind of control, which I think is where some of my eating disorder had got worse during my time in the military, because it was like, what can I control? Well, I can control if I eat or not, or if I decide to throw it up afterwards or not. There's nothing else I can control in my life. And it became like a really unhealthy fixation. But actually, there are other things that you can control, and there are things that you can tick off day by day. And I think finding things to focus on, finding things that you can say, yes, I've achieved this today in a world full of chaos, in a world where I have so little control. I focused on this, ideally not what you're putting in your body all the time, but and then you just move forward. So yeah.
So what you're saying is squaddy needed routine.
Yeah. Fun.
Madness. Fucking madness. No, but so you briefly touched then on a eating disorder.
Yeah.
Is that something that you've struggled with for a long time, or is it since?
Yeah, so I think since my mum said as young as being sort of like 7-8 years old, I would like go to parties and stuff. I would basically steal food, like hide things in my bed, and then sit and eat until I was sick. So, at that point in time, there is absolutely no way it had anything to do with my weight. It had nothing to do with body dysmorphia or the way I looked or anything. It was simply a control thing. I have chosen to do this, and this is something that I have power over. And it's not a healthy coping mechanism, and I've developed other ones in my time, but it's something that I've often resorted back to in times where there's uncertainty, in times where I feel like I have no control. One of the few things that you physically can control is what you eat or don't eat, and what you do with it afterwards. And I was downgraded for almost a year of my military career over 5 years ago. It was very, very early on in my career, before I really even understood the army or what my job was. And it got to a point that I was like being challenged about the fact that, oh, it's because you're a female, oh, it's because you care about the way you look, or to stop worrying about your weight, you're not fat. And I'm like, it's got nothing to do with my weight, it's got nothing to do with my appearance. It's because I feel like everything's out of control, and it's not a conscious decision for me to control my food, but it's something that I've always done. So that is my go-to thing, through CBT and through therapy and those kind of things. I'm never going to be cured. Like, it's one of those things. I'm never going to be fixed. I'm never going to be able to live my life and never count any macros and never worry that I ate too much the night before. And I'm always going to yo-yo diet and stuff like that. But that's fine, as long as I recognize, oh, okay, things aren't going so well now, change my behavior slightly, and then move forward. I've had a coach and nutritionist for years, and a bit like yourself, I've done nutrition courses, and I thought, well, maybe if I understand and I'm educated, I'll follow it. But I need the accountability. So unfortunately, I say unfortunately, I pay the money to have the experts do it for me and keep me on track.
Sometimes you need that.
Yeah.
And I find that with, oh, you dropped me.
Oh no.
You dropped me. Oh, how fucking dare you? Now I find that, like, when I do train, I do like to train on I tend to train on my own. That's just down to the gym that I use. So the gym that I use is part of the former job that I had when I first left the military. It was like, it's literally £10 a month, so it's the cheapest gym membership in the world ever, I think. And it is an all singing, all dancing gym. And I still have that membership, so I go there, but I don't have anyone that can come with me because it's exclusive to that job.
Right, yeah.
Which is a pain in the ass, because I'm not going to go and train with my father-in-law because he has different work times than me. He also doesn't like to train the same way as I do. He likes to train sort of circuit trainings and things like that, which I do enjoy. I do love a circuit training. I also like doing boot camps and things like that. I used to do boot camps as an actual instructor. Excuse me. But like I said, I like to lift shit. He doesn't like to lift shit. So if I said to him, let's go and do some deadlifts, he'll go, no. And I'm like, fuck, I want to do some deadlifts. So I end up training on my own. And the problem with that is, as much as I can self-motivate and push myself, I have to be in that mood to do it. So for example, say I'm put down on a bit of paper, I have to do 5 rounds of fucking 5 reps at 165 kilos, whatever it may be. I will go, right, I've done 3 rounds, that'll do. Let's go punch the punch bag for a bit. And then I'll do that. But previously my brother had a really good gym in Hereford. Unfortunately, he's had to stop it, even though this is an annoying thing for me. So my brother is a very, very, very talented personal trainer, and I'm gonna blow the smoke up his ass, because he is. And his gym was brilliant. It's very similar to, it's a bit like a box. Before CrossFit was cool, he did all that sort of. He basically took a lot of inspiration from Jim Jones and those guys over in America, Bobby Maximus and all that, the 300 lot, basically.
Yeah.
And it was very much like that. You sort of have to be, he used like a Fight Club sort of thing. You sort of had to be invited to come. And then you would do a test. And then if you were good enough, you could join the gym. However, all his disciples, you might want to call them, they were all working out, using the gym. Did they ever want to pay on time or pay their monthly subscriptions and things like that? Did they? Fuck. So unfortunately, I had to close. But every time I went there, I've never trained so hard in my life. Like, to the point where I'm like heaving and being physically sick because I pushed myself so hard. And I'm like, that's what I need. But I don't have anyone to do that with me. So I balloon up and I'm like, oh, fucking hell, you're a big bastard now. Then I'll train a bit and then I'll slim down and I'm like, phew. I tend to have some sort of goal. You might be the same. I need a goal. So I might have it written down, the 5 rounds. But if I haven't got, for example, a boxing match or a Spartan race or a football match, I did a charity football match for Rock to Recovery last year. If I haven't got a goal like that, I won't train properly. If I do have a goal, then I will train. And it winds my missus up, because she's constantly going, why have you got to do Spartan races? Why have you got to do charity boxing matches, football matches? It stresses you out. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but it also gives me a goal to reach.
Yeah, no, completely. I feel the same. Like I feel lost if I don't have something on. And everyone says to me, George, you do so much. Like, what you do, the pageantry, you do the powerlifting, you do charity things. It's like, but without it, I feel unhappy. Like, I have to be busy and I have to have a goal. So when I was last deployed, I had access to an American cookhouse, right? So, big eats.
I know.
Going down,
I know.
right.
I was with the USMC in Bastion. Right.
There we go. So we're eating big. We're training big. I'm not on program. I've got no kind of goal. And basically, I'm squatting and deadlifting every day. And I am just eating 5-6 meals a day, plus extra protein shakes, plus extra. There. And then it gets to the point that the lads are encouraging me and they go, mass moves, mass, George. And I'm like, yeah, I am getting strong. And they're like, mass moves, mass, mass moves, mass. And maybe like 2 months before coming home, I thought, maybe I should taper it back a bit now, because I am getting very, very heavy for my height. Like, I'm looking like an absolute caveman. And
thicker than a Snickers.
Right. And they're like, no, just keep going. Mass moves, mass, mass moves, mass. Anyway, I get home and I'm like, well, yeah, that's great. But how do I function as a human being now? Like, yeah, but the rest of my life is really hard. And again, it comes down to, like, I need to have a coach and I need to have a goal. Because actually I can still squat the same now, but I'm about 20 kilos lighter. And it's like, that's probably much more optimal for my height.
Yeah. you got to optimize being a human as well. It's like, I watched a documentary today with Hapthor Bjornsson and Eddie Hall, when they were going through their strongman on 2017. And I was looking at him going, you're lifting these massive weights. Sure. I'm not taking anything away from that. It's a hell of a feat. He deadlifted 500 kilos. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I've just seen you do like 12 reps of something. Yes, it's fucking incredibly heavy before people start barking at me. You couldn't breathe afterwards.
Yeah, at what cost?
It's like, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And my old man used to always say as well, it was the thing, he was like, my old man was a PTI for 22 years, and then specialized as a jump instructor. That's why he went to Hereford, because he was their jump instructor, but that's another story.
Right.
And he's always said that the sportsman will always win in things. He's like, you could play pool constantly. And I was like, pool? Why are you using that as an example? He was like, yeah, but your fitness level, if you're a higher fitness than, say, someone who's really good, eventually he's going to get tired and he will start slipping, where you won't, and you'll continue at your pace, and you'll end up winning. And I was like, right, that's a bizarre way to look at things. It's like, it's similar things like that. Like, yes, he can lift literally a mountain if he wanted, but eventually he's going to get tired, and then you'd win because you'd be able to deadlift a lighter weight for longer, things like that. I was like, oh, right, that's cool.
And
yeah, you've got to be built for purpose. You've got to be built for purpose. Like in a zombie apocalypse, you've got to be able to have a little bit of cardio.
And like you say, it's just general life. Like, you want to be able to play with your kids. You want to be able to pick your dog up. You want to be able to cook. You want to be able to walk around your kitchen and like do your job without feeling like you're out of breath. And it's a hard work walking up the stairs. Like, sure, great if you can lift all this heavy weight, but like you say, you want to be able to human really successfully.
You've got to be able to human. Like, as long as I can run faster than a really fat guy, I'm going to survive a bit longer in a zombie apocalypse. Definitely. But I do find sometimes, because my stairs in my house are fucking so steep. It's ridiculous. Like, they're like this. It's ridiculous. And sometimes the girls are a pain in the ass. They share a room, so they're a pain in the ass. If they're arguing, most of the time they're golden. They love each other, but occasionally they have a personality clash. And they'll argue. And then I have to sprint up the stairs to tell them off. And I get to the stairs and I'm mid fucking bollocking, knife hand in the light. And then the next thing I'm getting out of breath here, shouting at the fucking girls. I need to get to the gym so I can human properly, so I can tell these fuckers off. Do you know one thing we haven't spoke about yet, Georgie? And you've mentioned it a couple of times, and you're wearing the sash. I haven't spoke about the pageantry yet.
Yeah.
How the fuck did you get into that?
Yeah, so I never thought I would do pageants in a million years, and I am absolutely in the category of people. Did you
see it as, like, I would see it as the American Miss World and all that sort of stuff, where you're like, what are these guys?
Kind of. I mean, being completely honest, and I talk about this quite frequently, like, I had a very, very, very negative perception of pageants, partly because, you know, they are much bigger in the States. Here, lots of people don't know that much about them, myself included. And I thought, why would a load of women want to stand on stage and be judged for the way that they look, or how much they weigh? And I thought, that is not for me. So it never even entered my mind. All I knew about pageants was seeing the film Miss Congeniality and going, these girls all want to kill each other. What?
Brilliant movie.
So yeah, great movie, 100%. And then I had the regional director of Miss Essex contact me on Instagram and basically say, you know, we think you'd be great for it. Why don't you think about it? And at the time it was, you know, it's expensive to enter as well. And I thought, no, it's really not for me. And they sent me all this information about the charity work that they do, and all of the different rounds. So the publicity side of it, the, you know, challenging pageant stereotypes. They had a Miss Congeniality award, and I thought, oh, you know, maybe it is interesting. And I was training at a really sort of like old ironworks boxing type gym, you know, like a real
proper sweat box.
Yeah, and I love it there. And they decided they would sponsor me, so they paid my entry. And being completely honest, when I turned up the first time to it, it was almost not a joke, but I didn't really know what I was doing there. And I really got on board with the charity stuff. So I organised, I benched the weight of a Chinook helicopter over a number of hours for combat stress. I got a tri-service girls team together to squat the weight of a Challenger tank over a few hours, again for combat stress. And I was like, yeah, I get this side of it. Like, I want to raise money for charity. I want to use my title for good and all of that. And then by some weird miracle, I won. And it was so unexpected. And I was like, what am I doing? So then when I went to Miss Great Britain for the first time, again, it was still kind of a bit of just a trial for me. And I thought, I don't understand why I'm here. Like, I don't know how I've got here. This is crazy to me. And I just loved it. And then the following year, I thought, oh no, maybe this year I'll put the work in and I understand what it means now. And I placed 6th last year. And then I thought I was too old. So the cutoff was 27. And then they've just changed it to 30. And I thought, I've got one more go. I'll have one more try. And then this year, I feel like it's my 3rd attempt. I've been lucky enough to win Miss Essex every year since 2019. And this year, I've just got a feeling that I know the work that it takes to win. I know exactly what goes into it. I fully understand what pageantry is. And it's just not a load of girls standing on stage, wearing swimwear, being judged for how they look. It's not a load of bimbos that just care about their appearance. These are women that are doctors and surgeons and soldiers like myself and lawyers and graduates. And they are girls that raise so much money for charity. I think Cancer Research contacted us the other day as finalists and said that over the time that Miss Great Britain have been partnered with them, they've raised over £90,000. Like, that is huge.
That's a massive amount. That is a massive amount. And you're spot on there, because I'll hold my hands up. I've seen the odd Miss World and that, when it's like I'm telling you, flicking through, and you're like, and they go, I'd like to cure world hunger and all that sort of stuff. And you're like, oh, cool. Turn off. It's like, what am I fucking watching here? And I'm watching a load of really attractive women, like you said, be judged because of how they look and whatnot, and their special talents and things like that. It's like, nobody really understands, one, the effort it takes to look the way you do, because it takes effort to go to the gym, sort your makeup out properly. That's a job in itself. My youngest wants to be a makeup artist. She actually wants to do movie makeup. That's her thing. She wants to do all the scars and things like that. She loves all that. And she did one the other week, and I genuinely thought she had hurt herself. I came home from work and she had this gash. I can't remember if it was on her hand or on her face, but might have been on her hand. But it was so realistic. And I was like, you're 8 years old, and that is brilliant. But anyway, I digress. That's the amount of time, effort, and like you said, you're raising money for different charities. Nobody knows about that.
I know.
Sorry. Regular human people like myself don't know about that.
Yeah, I think unless you're into pageantry, or unless you've grown up with it or know someone that does it, because it's just not that big here. People don't know that much. It's fine,
And there's a huge stigma. Again, another huge stigma behind it, because you get the things like the American shows on fucking, I don't know, DMX or whatever DMX. That's not even a channel. That was a rapper. Or the channel DXMC or whatever it is. Anyway, like where Dance Mums and that sort of shit is on, they have like child pageantry stuff. And I remember flicking through and I saw a couple of those, and you're like, oh, what are you putting your kids through? And things like that. And it's like there's a negative stereotype behind pageantries because of shows like that, I think. Because
I think
clearly you're putting in a lot of work and doing some fucking brilliant stuff for amazing charities like Combat Stress, who do work hard and do provide the service that they say they're going to do, unlike some charities that I'm not going to talk about. Benevolent Fund. What? Who's fucking said that? Anyway. But yeah, hats off to you for putting in the fucking work that you do. It's awesome. Genuinely.
I think it's one of those things as well, is that even people that do support pageantry and even people that go to the live shows and see the final, all they ever see is the show. So the final 3 hours where everyone's hard work comes together and it's the best of them that they're showing. When people have asked me about what pageantry is like, it's not a competition, it's like a year-long campaign. So I was announced as a finalist very recently. I've basically known since January that I was going to be doing it. The final's not until October. From January to October, I will be doing fundraisers, I'll be doing appearances, I'll be doing events and interviews and all of that stuff. Yeah. And attends the final, they just see that final 2-3 hours.
Yeah, I was literally going to say, what do you actually do to, one, like, be selected to become Miss Essex?
Mm-hmm.
And like, what do you have to do throughout the year? Like you said, you have to do all these different interviews and things like that. So it literally starts from January up until October, and you have to do a certain number of criteria, like ticks in the box.
Yeah, so none of it is compulsory. You could do none of the work and turn up and walk on stage in a beautiful dress and, you know, an amazing body in swimwear, but you won't win. You know, you just won't, because it's not what it's for. There are a number of additional rounds that get you points. So, for example, publicity. So girls that challenge perceptions of pageants by going on talks like this, through the media, through engagement with the public about what pageantry is, to try and raise the brand of Miss Great Britain, if you like. So, you know, having conversations about what pageantry actually is and the work that the girls do is part of that. And then there's, you know, charity rounds. Again, there are some people that, due to the work that they have or the background that they come from, will be more able to raise a lot of money very quickly.
Yeah.
And the winner of the charity round will be the girl that raises the most money for charity. However, there are also sort of campaigns that they run, awareness, things like social media sharing, events that people go to, and all of that does come into your portfolio that you will create for the judges to have a look through, to see the work that you've done throughout the year, you know, things you've done in the community and stuff like that. So yeah,
feel free to use the Ground Zero podcast for any of that. Helps build. It helps build the podcast, and it could help you. Like the I've said for a number of years now, the podcast isn't designed just for myself. It started off as my therapy, basically, because I couldn't quite get my writing down, so I used the podcast to use as my therapy. I started off the podcast literally talking to myself in the shed for like an hour, just to air all this crap, and then I got guests on, things like that. So if anything that the podcast can do to help you, then 100%. I'm always on board to help like-minded people. But obviously, you said you did a lot of things for social media, including media and things like that. I did notice, and we sort of touched on it at the beginning, where I said that I had a few trolls and things like that. Being an attractive lady that is a pageantry star, like Miss Essex, etc., you're always going to get some annoying, pardon my French, cunt that's going to try and drag you down because of the way you look. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, so at first I had decided not to read some of the comments. One of the first national articles that broke about me was in 2019, and I ended up in the Daily Mail and Lad Bible, and I had friends that would message me and be like, "Are you okay? Have you some of this stuff's pretty nasty?" And it got to a point that I thought, I'm gonna have to see what they're talking about. And they were horrific, and people saying that I'd ruined my face, that I'd had too much work done. There was someone that had commented saying that I shouldn't be in the military because the enemy would see my lips before they saw anything else, so I would endanger my entire platoon. Just ridiculous things, that I'm a national security threat. There was actually who was based on the same camp as me, and I'd been very, very careful to not talk about, what rank I am, what regiment I serve with, anything like that. And they'd put a comment on there saying, been through by all the men and women at X camp. And I thought, firstly, it's just not accurate. And secondly, how dare they endanger my personal security when I've been so careful not to?
Yeah. There
and
is a thing called OPSEC and ComSec and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Also, right, even if you had, for example, been through the entire camp, I'm not saying you have.
Yeah.
That's your business.
Yeah.
Fuck you. I hate trolls, mate. Genuinely.
Yeah. And what's funny is, so there was an article released recently about the fact that I had been trolled so aggressively. And I know New York Post picks up on it, and they pushed a very, very positive narrative about how I'm hitting back at trolls and how they're ridiculous and how I've served my country and I'm a beauty queen and I should be really proud of myself. And then you look at the comments and it's all trolling, and it's like, it's literally an article about trolls. What?
Yeah, I know. Some people are just fucking idiots. And I saw a thing on Joe Rogan about trolls, and he said trolls are just losers that they got nothing better to do with their life. They're like they're literally the bully with the fucking magnifying glass trying to burn the ants. It's like, fuck you. I had it, and I'm in the same sort of bracket as you, where, excuse me, I didn't want to read the comments. I've done something to try and better myself and trying to show other people that it's okay. For me, this is to talk about mental health.
Yeah.
To break stigmas. I'm a white heterosexual male where the stereotypes are white privilege, etc., etc. I shouldn't be talking about my mental health and crying and showing emotions, etc. So when I released my book, which I always say as a joke, I got mixed reviews. I didn't read the comments because I knew that I would attract certain people who I mentioned that were friends that I served with, that I thought were friends. I knew that this would be like a red flag to a bull to them. They would come at me hard, and I'm like, well, I know that's going to happen. I'm not going to read it. However, there's a certain person in my household that loves to read comments like that and then try and prod me to say, look, there's another comment. So a bit like you, didn't want to read it, and then I ended up reading it going, oh, this is just fucking hurtful. There were certain comments on there that was attacking me as a person, saying that I was trying to get with people's wives while they're on tour and things like that. And I'm like, my wife's family can read those comments.
Yeah.
And that isn't true.
So damaging.
And it's like, what? Also, why would I be trying to get on someone's wife when they're on tour? These people that are commenting on that sort of specific thing, I was on tour with you at those times. You haven't done any other tours, so stop talking shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a hurtful thing. And then I literally had to sit down with my brother and say, look, what can I do? Like, I'm trying to break these stigmas, and I'm trying to better myself. I'm trying to help others to see that it's okay to do this. And he was like, mate, you just got to do the best you can and ignore it. And I was like, yeah, it's easy said than done when it's not happening to you.
100%.
It's
I think
it's hard.
Like, it is really hard. I think also that, and it's not fair, but the people that are choosing to troll us are people that haven't chosen to take a risk or to do something brave or to put themselves out there. And it is so easy and so cowardly to sit behind a keyboard and write these things that you would never say to someone's face because you haven't chosen to do something that makes a difference. You know, you've chosen to do something that makes a difference to you and 100% will make a difference to other people. You're breaking stigmas, you're challenging stereotypes, and what people want to troll you for that's ridiculous. Because I always say, I have never ever had anybody come up to me in the street as a stranger and tell me that they don't like the way I look, or they think I've ruined my face, or they think I've had too much work done, or I shouldn't do my job, but they feel like that it's acceptable to do that online. And I imagine for you, like I guarantee you, well, I might be wrong, but people don't just approach you in the street that you've never met and go, do you know what, I think what you're doing is stupid. Of course they don't,
I've never
because
had that.
yeah,
I've never had any of these people actually say it face to face, like you said.
yeah.
In fact, I've even had one of the lads actually messaged me. It must have been a couple of years back now, and then he literally he apologized. He was like, "I didn't understand the extent that you went through, etc., etc."
Yeah.
And I was like, I literally, I did take the high ground. I was like, I could have just gone, I'm not going to fucking talk to you. But I was like, no, I appreciate your message. I went, a lot of people don't understand that everybody's mind is different.
Mm-hmm.
I went,
Mm-hmm.
what you lot of might have seen on tour at the same time as me may affect differently.
Mm-hmm.
It might, for example, you might be in a massive contact and it might not affect you at all. But I've not been in that same contact. I've been in a slightly different one, less one, but I'm proper fucked up. Or it could be anything from being bullied as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Bullied as a kid, seeing things as a kid that you shouldn't see, and all sorts.
Oh,
it's madness.
Yeah,
Got you back. Don't worry.
Yeah, thank you.
It's fucking. It winds me up. I don't understand the hate. Yes, I can't say I haven't, because I have like hated on stupid things that I shouldn't, or comment on things that I shouldn't. I'm dreadful for it. In terms of, I try and be funny when I do it, if I'm honest. But I'm not gonna challenge someone's looks or their mental health and things like that. I'm not gonna do that. If it's a stupid comment, a bit like, in fact, I did comment. I just said people can't speak their minds if it doesn't fit with the narrative. I think that was my comment. But it was down to the BAFTA sort of controversy with, I was going to call her Mindy Granger. That's not her actual name. Emma Watson. When she went for, she was given an award, because she definitely didn't get an award, because I don't think she's done anything since Harry Potter. But she sort of gave a little dig to J.K. Rowling because of her views on trans people, which is a sticky topic. Of course it is. Yeah. But also, did you need to, or or are you doing that because you have to be relevant at the minute?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a huge thing, especially with the way that social media is, and everyone caring about the next thing that's trendy to care about or popular to care about. And the same people that will post #BeKind will change views with the seasons based on what's trendy and popular at the time. And it's like, if we all just go about our lives minding our own business, and we see things that maybe aren't our cup of tea, but it's not hurting anyone else, and just keep our opinions to ourselves, then
opinions, though, isn't it? It's whether you care more about it, the thing that they're sort of touching on. It's like, oh, you're having a go at the thing that I really like. What about fucking world peace? Oh, fuck that. You need to insulate Britain. Ooh. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
If it's not hurting anyone else, then just let people be.
Yeah, like I totally agree, especially with that be kind thing, because obviously the amount of, we'll go with the celebrity, like the celebrity suicides and things like that. Everybody jumps on the bandwagon, oh, suicide prevention and all that, and then the next breath they'll see someone make a mistake and then they fucking hound them, and it's like, hang on a minute, 1 second ago you were saying be kind, and now you're throwing this person. They're still human. They've made a mistake.
100%. There was, in the same way, so there was a very tragic death in the pageant community fairly recently, and one of the pageant queens from the US committed suicide, and she was an attorney. She had studied at law for years. She was a TV host. She had won Miss USA. She was an incredibly beautiful, incredibly successful woman, and she jumped off a 6-story building, and everyone was sort of rallying around this is a tragedy. She's such a successful woman. It's so sad. But by the same token, we'll criticize pageants and say they're all airheads. They just care about how they look, troll me for my face and all of those things. And you think, you can't have it both ways. Like, yes, suicide is tragic. Yes, we should be doing more to prevent suicide. Those same things, you don't just post it because it's trendy. You believe what you're saying.
I totally agree there. And actually, you saying that actually marks the 6th-year anniversary since a friend of mine took his own life, Cy Baldwin. He struggled after leaving the military with PTSD and thought his only way out was committing suicide, leaving behind his 2 boys. And it's hard and tragic and very sad, because he was a very talented soldier. He was a sniper, and he was the nicest guy you'd meet. He was actually quite a talented guy in terms of music with his he'd made some sort of dance. It was not my type of genre. I prefer fucking rock music personally, no offense. But he made his own music, and he was just a talented, nice person. And it's like gone too soon, really. And it is sad. It really is. So I'm gonna give Cy a big shout out today. I did a post about him earlier, because I don't like to put too many words in, because there's no need.
Yeah,
it's just not forgotten. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a top guy. And I've run out of whiskey, so I've gone on to fucking spiced rum. But cheers.
Cheers.
It was only a little bowl. It was given to me by my mum, so I don't think I must have had a couple before. I haven't gone through all that tonight. Definitely not. I'm not having it. I'm not having it. But I want to touch on something actually, because I had a chat with a former guest of mine, and I was a bit naive behind this. She had a bit of Botox in her head, and in her head, just generally in her fucking head. And she's had I believe she's had some Botox in her lips, etc., etc. And I was like, well, why are you doing that? Just fucking be who you are. She's like, do you ever think about how I feel and why I would want to do it because of different? She had so many different reasons and things like that. And it's like, do you know what? I never thought of that. Because you get, again, stereotypes. This is like a common theme, stereotypes.
Yeah.
Like you get in your head, like, you're going to look like fucking Cher, where she's 90 years old or wherever, but she still looks like she's 30, but not really, because she also looks fake as fuck. But so have you had like your lips done and things like that? Or is that just what people are saying?
No, I have. So I've had Botox in my forehead, so that's about the most movement I've got now.
Fantastic.
I can be quite judgmental at work, so especially sort of in a training environment. So it stops me looking rude to recruits when they say stupid things because I can't move my face. So I would say it's a career move. I've had filler in my lips, and my eyebrows are semi-permanently tattooed, but that's it. And all of the work that I've had done is like semi-permanent, so it will dissolve and it will fade. And then if I choose to have more, and if I don't, then it will just back to normal.
But yeah, it's like a thing. It's like it does it. I was, like I said, very naive with it. Like, you see certain people that have had too much work done, you're like, oh, you've had too much work done. But also, you don't know what's going on in their life. We'll take some of the Towie cast. One in particular has had like her nose done, completely changed her face. And it's like, why have you done that? But obviously she needed to do that to make herself feel better.
And in the same way as like body dysmorphia, and like when we talked about earlier, which most people can relate to, you know, you get a bit of progress, you then chase more progress, you then think, oh, maybe I haven't done enough, I'm gonna try and put on some more muscle or lose some more weight, and then you just keep going. It's very easy to, my mum calls it lip blind. She jokes at me all the time, because I'll be like, oh, I'm going to get some more filler. And she's like, oh, George, you've gone lip blind. You don't understand how big they are. And I'm very lucky that my aesthetics clinician, she won't let me have more done. Like, and all these trolls gone too far.
You don't want to look like, oh, what's her name from Men Behaving Badly? That had a lips massive.
Oh, I don't know, or like Pete Burns or someone like that. But
or Pete Burns, who he's just, I don't know what pronoun I'm supposed to use with that.
I don't know.
We're just going to pretend that. Well, he's still Pete Burns, though, isn't he? So he's still still a he.
Mm.
I hope this is where I get cancelled. That's another thing I hate. That's another thing. Me and my brother discuss this all the time, right? I have no problem with people being trans or having different pronouns, but also don't throw me under the bus if I get it wrong.
Yeah.
At least let me know. Have a t-shirt or something, or a QR code so I can buzz and go, oh, right, you're a Z.
I think it all comes down to...
Why is there so many, though?
Yeah, I just think in the same way that there are stigmas around mental health, about pageantry, about loads of things that people just don't understand, people are going to get it wrong while they're learning. People are going to get it wrong sometimes completely undeliberately, unavoidably, and the intent is what matters, right? If people aren't, you know, coming at it with malicious intent, then it's up people who do know about these subjects to educate and say, hey, look, I know you probably didn't mean any offense, but actually this is the way that I want to be called, or this is actually what this means. And then we'll go, oh, sorry, didn't realize, and then we can get it right, rather than cancelling each other. It's and clearly malicious and deliberately malicious.
If you're generally being racist or homophobic, then sure, cuck. But if I'm just talking to you and I say she or her, like, to describe you, and you go, oh, Tommo, I'll stop you there, mate. I'm fucking, I don't know. They is, I don't know. Or whatever. And I'll go, oh, shit. Sorry. That's why I tend to call people buddy or pal or mate, because I don't know what I'm supposed to say anymore. And it's a minefield. It really is. It is,
for sure. Yeah.
And like I said earlier, I'm a white, privileged, heterosexual male. I'm going to get it wrong, and you're going to fucking troll me and then put me on Instagram and saying this guy's a hate preacher. I'm not. I love you all, but also give me a break.
Yeah, 100%.
But here's one for you, because seeing as you're a powerlifter. However, we're going to quickly press pause because I need the toilet quick, and then we'll...
I actually think I've got to be really sorry. I think my phone is going to... Oh.
Are you going to die?
Any second, and I don't have my charger in work.
Oh, shit on it. Right, I'll quickly ask you now then. Right, quick.
Yeah.
On the trans thing. Trans women who were men that are now women, powerlifting, what is your view on that? There's a question.
We have had this conversation in the office so many times, and on the say, do you know what, I've got no issue at all. If you are now a female, then absolutely you should be able to compete, because it's not fair for you to not be able to compete. And obviously there is not a category just for trans people to compete, so it wouldn't be fair for them to have nowhere to compete. I do understand that because of the levels of testosterone and intensity for years that they've developed,
that's what I was going to say.
There are advantages.
That's the big thing. I have no problem with them competing in whatever sport. There is one. That sounded really bad. There is a trans lady that is a swimmer that was competing as a man that was like 134th in the world. Transitioned to a woman and is now number 1 in the world. It's like, okay, we can see why, but we also can't say why, because that is transphobic for some reason. And I totally agree with certain things, like, but also you've got a power lifter or a weightlifter that can lift more than yourself, because they, like you said, they could be like my age competing against you. They've had 30 years of testosterone and then gone, right, and now I'm a woman. And you're like, hang on a minute, I haven't had 30 years of testosterone. Can I have 30 years of testosterone? And then I'll be allowed to lift as much. It's a horrible circle. And because of the woke culture that we're in, it's like, you can't moan about it, because then you're transphobic. It's fucking such a minefield. Everything is a minefield. And
very difficult.
You got to be careful, Georgie, because if you're on the front line, because you've had filler in, you might set off a tripwire or something.
Right, and then I'll
engage. It's so big. And you won't know what to do because you're a pageant star and you're a woman. You don't know what it's like. Oh, fuck. Everything.
I'm a national security threat.
You are such a threat. You're a threat to me because, I don't know, there'll be some sort of excuse. You know what? I actually generally had this before I came on with you. I literally got in the shower, got out, and my wife turned to me. She went, "Oh, you getting yourself all ready for your date? Are you on your podcast?" I was like, "Right." I stopped there. I went, "I'll stop you there. You never do this if I have a male on the show."
I'll get
because I've got a woman on the show. You're getting all defensive. I went, "I've been married to you for almost 11 years. I've been with you for 14 years."
Yeah.
I went, "What are you talking about, woman?" And she's like, "Yeah, all right." Sure, I'll let you have that one. And when you didn't do it on the weekend when I had Rusty Furman on, you wanted to hear all about that. I'll go in, I'll press stop on this, get it all ready, and she'll go, "How was your date?" That's what she'll say. And if she does, I'll send you a message and say that she said it. Yeah. But I know your phone's dying and I'm busting for a wee, but I have loved every second of this chat. It's been brilliant.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome anytime, and I think we probably need to do a part 2 at some point to discuss further stuff. And good luck with this year's pageantry.
Thank you so much.
Now I'll catch you again soon. I won't take up any more of your time. I think it's what time are we on? Oh, bloody hell. Well late. 9:30. I should be in bed. No, but thanks you very much for coming on, mate. It's been a privilege.
Thanks so much. Have a good evening.
And you, mate. I'll catch you soon.
Bye.